Dyspepsia is a term used in medicine to describe symptoms related to the upper gastrointestinal tract, particularly the stomach. It is a common complaint among patients, often referred to as epigastric pain or indigestion. As a medical student, it is essential to understand the components and potential causes of dyspepsia, particularly its association with peptic ulcer disease and H. pylori infection. Patients with dyspepsia primarily present with epigastric pain, but they can also present with early satiety, epigastric burning, nausea, and postprandial symptoms such as bloating and belching. But epigastric pain is their primary complaint. On physical examination, patients with dyspepsia may have epigastric tenderness. The Cornet sign helps determine if the tenderness is from the abdominal wall or the underlying viscera. While supine, the patient is asked to tense the abdominal wall by lifting the head, shoulder, and legs off the table. A positive Cornet sign is when the pain increases or remains unchanged. A negative Cornet sign is when the abdominal pain decreases with the tensing of the abdominal wall, which then suggests that the epigastric tenderness is likely from an intra-abdominal organ, such as the stomach. A 65-year-old male patient with poorly controlled type 2 diabetes, with an A1C of 8%, hypertension, and hyperlipidemia, presents to your clinic for epigastric pain and substernal chest pain. He describes the pain as dull and often exacerbated when he is anxious. He denies any exercise intolerance or fatigue. What is the most appropriate next step in the management? A. Upper endoscopy. B. A 12-lead EKG. C. An 8-week PPI trial. And D. Ambulatory pH testing. Remember, in any chest pain, a cardiac cause must be ruled out first if the patient has risk factors related to a cardiac cause. And therefore, in this case, a 12-lead EKG is the most appropriate next step. If the EKG is normal and the patient remains at high risk of coronary disease, further evaluation such as an exercise stress test is ordered. An upper endoscopy is appropriate once a cardiac cause is ruled out, and once we deem that his pain is related to dyspepsia. An 8-week trial or an ambulatory pH testing is not appropriate since there are no findings related to gastroesophageal reflux disease. The most common conditions related to dyspepsia are peptic ulcer disease and gastroesophageal reflux disease. If there is no organic cause that is identified, then it is called functional dyspepsia. Factors that should be considered when deciding which test to order after you suspect dyspepsia include the patient's age, symptom severity, and the patient's risk for gastric cancer. The recommendation for patients younger than 60 years old is to order a non-invasive testing for H. pylori. And if the testing is positive, an eradication therapy against H. pylori infection is recommended. An upper endoscopy is recommended for patients with dyspepsia who are over 60 years old. Here's a real case that we encountered in the clinic, and it is a very common question asked on your exams. A 32-year-old female comes into the clinic complaining of epigastric pain for at least 1 year. She works remotely and often spends some of her time in Mexico. She describes a vague epigastric pain, exacerbated when she eats, and is not relieved with over-the-counter antacids. She denies any weight loss, rash, melena, or fatigue. Which of the following is the next best step in management? A. Upper endoscopy. B. PPI trial with pantoprazole. C. Stool antigen test for H. pylori. And D. Limited ultrasound of the right upper quadrant. The patient presents with dyspepsia, and since she is less than 60 years old, the most appropriate next step to order is a stool antigen testing for H. pylori. If she is over 60, With dyspepsia, an upper endoscopy would have been appropriate. Remember, the next best step in any management is to choose a non-invasive test, unless there are clear indications for a more invasive one, such as an upper endoscopy. Before ordering a PPI, we must rule out an H. pylori infection, since PPI can cause a falsely negative H. pylori result. Ideally, we ask patients to stop taking their PPI for 2 weeks before ordering a non-invasive H. pylori test. A 68-year-old male with no known significant medical history presents with intermittent epigastric pain that has been ongoing for at least 1 year. The pain is described as a vague discomfort not associated with physical exertion or eating, but associated with nausea and fatigue. He reports eating less than usual and has experienced unintentional weight loss with a 5-pound decrease in body weight over the past year. What is the most appropriate next step? A. 8 weeks of PPI trial. B. Empiric treatment of H. pylori. C. Upper endoscopy. D. EKG and troponin levels. Since this patient is over 60 years old and presents with dyspepsia and alarm features, an upper endoscopy is the appropriate next step. Although a cardiac cause could always be considered, it has no risk factors for a cardiac condition, and therefore an EKG is not appropriate in this case. While various organic factors can contribute to dyspepsia, the primary cause of dyspepsia includes peptic ulcer disease, H. pylori infection, gastroesophageal reflux disease, medications such as nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory, and gastric malignancy. The two most common conditions associated with dyspepsia are GERD and peptic ulcer disease. Since we already discussed gastroesophageal reflux disease last week, let's talk about key points related to peptic ulcer disease. In peptic ulcer disease, the primary symptom typically encountered is epigastric pain. This discomfort tends to intensify during periods of fasting, but often alleviates with food consumption or the use of antacid therapy. Peptic ulcers are either located in the stomach or on the duodenum. The two most common causes of peptic ulcer disease in the US are H. pylori infection and NSAIDs. So most of the questions will be associated with either an H. pylori infection or a patient using NSAIDs. In the US, idiopathic peptic ulcer disease is also common. It has been associated with medications such as bisphosphonates and SSRI, those with recreational drug use such as methamphetamine and cocaine use, alcohol, and smoking. Why is peptic ulcer disease important? It's important because it's strongly associated with upper GI bleeding, as well as perforation and gastric outlet obstruction. An upper endoscopy is helpful in peptic ulcer disease diagnosis. However, if you suspect a perforating peptic ulcer disease, an abdominal CT is recommended as the imaging of choice. Peptic ulcer disease management includes avoiding exacerbating factors such as NSAIDs and smoking, as well as H. pylori treatment. In H. pylori management, the best regimen against H. pylori is a bismuth-based quadruple therapy, and this includes bismuth, PPI, tetracycline, and metronidazole. Quadruple therapy is superior to standard triple therapy, since there is an increasing resistance to clarithromycin. However, it is also important to know the triple therapy. A clarithromycin-based triple therapy includes clarithromycin, amoxicillin, and omeprazole. It is also important that we perform an eradication testing, either a urea breath test or an H. pylori stool antigen test, 4 weeks after completing the regimen. Serologic testing is not used to confirm H. pylori eradication, because it can remain positive in the absence of active infection. H. pylori is a gram-negative, spiral-shaped bacteria that can colonize the stomach. Transmission is mostly oral to oral or fecal to oral. It is the most prevalent chronic bacterial infection and are often acquired during childhood. H. pylori is a bacteria that produces urease, which produces ammonia and results in an alkaline environment. It is the most common cause of gastric and duodenal ulcers, but gastric ulcer is significant since it is strongly associated with gastric cancer. What are the indications for H. pylori testing? H. pylori testing is indicated in patients with dyspepsia, active peptic ulcer disease, immune thrombocytopenia, unexplained iron deficiency anemia, gastric mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue lymphoma, or a history of endoscopic resection of early gastric cancer. The diagnostic test for H. pylori includes endoscopic testing, which is an invasive test, and 3 non-invasive tests. In patients who do not require an endoscopic evaluation, 2 non-invasive tests are recommended. The preferred non-invasive tests are the urea breath test and the H. pylori stool antigen test. Although serology is inexpensive and non-invasive, it is not helpful since it can't distinguish between an active or a previous infection. In urea breath test, it is actually carbon dioxide that is measured, not urea. Biopsy is the gold standard, but it requires an upper endoscopy and therefore an invasive test. Oftentimes, a biopsy result will take a while to come back, and what we do during the upper endoscopy is to also perform a rapid urease test on the biopsy, called a CLO testing, which can exclude H. pylori testing while awaiting for the histology report. Is H. pylori testing indicated in patients with typical GERD symptoms? The answer is no. Since PPI can cause a falsely negative H. pylori test, PPI should be discontinued for at least 1 to 2 weeks. Why is H. pylori infection significant? H. pylori infection is the leading cause of peptic ulcers, and if left untreated, peptic ulcers can lead to serious complications including an upper GI bleeding and perforation of the stomach or duodenum. Chronic H. pylori infection is associated with an increased risk of developing gastric cancer. Although most people infected with H. pylori do not develop cancer, the bacterium is considered a significant risk factor, and its eradication is recommended for patients with certain risk factors or in a high-risk population. It is associated with gastric mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue lymphoma, which is a high yield on your exam. H. pylori is also strongly associated with autoimmune thrombocytopenic purpura, formerly known as idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura or ITP. If a patient comes in to see you with unexplained thrombocytopenia, H. pylori testing is included in the workup. A 22-year-old college student reports intermittent epigastric pain. She comes in to see you today to discuss her upper endoscopy result. She has a history of GERD and she takes over-the-counter PPI for symptom relief. A stool H. pylori was negative. Due to persistent dyspepsia symptoms, an upper endoscopy was performed last week. The EGD with biopsy showed unremarkable result. What is the diagnosis? This patient has functional dyspepsia, also known as non-ulcerative dyspepsia. This is considered when we ruled out all causes of epigastric pain, but the patient still reports epigastric pain. The cause is still unknown. Functional dyspepsia has 2 subtypes based on the pattern of the symptoms. Epigastric pain syndrome is associated with symptoms of epigastric pain or burning unrelated to meals. And postprandial distress syndrome are meal-induced symptoms. Patients with epigastric pain syndrome benefit more from a TCA antidepressant, and patients with postprandial distress syndrome may benefit from buspirone. 50-year-old female with intermittent epigastric pain that occurs 4 times a week. She denies weight loss, bleeding, or nausea or vomiting. H. pylori infection was ruled out. She completed an 8-week course of PPI without symptom relief. An upper endoscopy was performed, and the findings were unremarkable. Which of the following is the most appropriate next step? A. Increase PPI to twice daily. B. Order a right upper quadrant limited ultrasound. C. Repeat endoscopy. D. CT scan of the abdomen. Or E. Treat with a tricyclic antidepressant. As you can see, this patient has functional dyspepsia. Starting a trial of TCA antidepressant is the most appropriate next step. Now let's do a rapid-fire questions on dyspepsia. What is the most common complaint in patients with dyspepsia? Epigastric pain. What is the recommended approach for patients less than 60 years old with dyspepsia? Non-invasive H. pylori testing. What is the recommended approach for patients over 60 years old with dyspepsia? Upper endoscopy. What are the 2 common causes of peptic ulcer disease in the U.S.? H. pylori infection and NSAID use. What are the 4 medications used for quadruple therapy against H. pylori? Bismuth, PPI, tetracycline, and metronidazole. What are 3 medications used for triple therapy against H. pylori? Clarithromycin, amoxicillin, and omeprazole. How many weeks before performing eradication testing for H. pylori? 4 weeks. Which peptic ulcer is strongly associated with gastric cancer? Gastric ulcer. Besides dyspepsia and active peptic ulcer disease, what are the other indications for H. pylori testing? Immune thrombocytopenia, unexplained iron deficiency anemia, gastric mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue lymphoma, and patients with a history of endoscopic resection of early gastric cancer. What are the 2 non-invasive tests for H. pylori? Urea breath test and H. pylori stool antigen test. And what should be considered when we ruled out all causes of epigastric pain, but the patient still reports epigastric pain? Functional dyspepsia. In conclusion, dyspepsia is essential to identify and treat because it can be a symptom of various underlying medical conditions, including peptic ulcers, gastritis, gastroesophageal reflux disease, and even gastric cancer. Neglecting dyspepsia can lead to delayed diagnosis and potentially more severe health consequences. Timely identification and appropriate treatment alleviate patients' discomfort and address the root causes, preventing the progression of more serious conditions and improving the patient's overall quality of life. We invite you to become part of our online community. Follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel. There you can access high-yield key points tailored to help you excel in your internal medicine NBME and USMLE Step 2 exam. Thank you and take care.